Chapter 10, Preparation. Are you okay, Cameron? Yes, Mum. I suppressed a sigh. How many times was Mum going to ask me that question? Can I help you with anything? Mum took the neatly folded pyjama shirt out of my hands, shook it out and began to fold it again. No, Mum, I can manage. I pulled the shirt out of her reluctant hands. I could, Mum looked around eagerly, trying to find something to keep her in the room. Mum. Yes, dear. I can manage, I spoke firmly, looking at her straight in the eye. Mum smiled ruefully. I'm getting in the way, aren't I? Yes. And I'm getting on your nerves. Correct. Mum chuckled. I'll leave now. Thank you, I replied with sincere gratitude. Call me if you need me. I will. Mum left my bedroom after one more glance to make me absolutely sure that there was nothing to keep her. I shook my head as I added my pyjama shirt to my already full suitcase. That was about the 12th time Mum had entered my room in the last half an hour. And as for Dad, he was out in the garden weeding something or other that couldn't wait. Grown-ups are so strange. I took another look at the camcorder sitting it self-consciously in the corner of the room. After a moment's indecision, I took out the tripod from under my bed and stood it about 2 meters away. Picking up the camcorder, I placed it on the tripod, looking through the viewfinder to centre the view on my suitcase sitting in the middle of the bed. I decided not to start the camcorder just yet. I had other things to take care of first. Pushing the new toothbrush down the side of my suitcase, I sat on the lid too close to close it. It shut quite easily. Sitting on it probably wasn't necessary, but it was fun. I looked around my room. This was the last day I'd see it for a while. I walked over to my window. Dad was on his knees at the back of the garden, digging in his vegetable patch. I sighed as I watched. Dad had been digging in exactly the same spot for the last 45 minutes. I left my room. Hi, Dad, what are you doing? Oh, hello, Cam. I just thought I'd do a bit of weeding. I peered over his shoulder. I don't see any weeds. I've got rid of the surface bits, but I have to dig deep to make sure I get all the roots out. There's no point in doing this unless I'm thorough. I regarded my dad thoughtfully. What he knew about weeds could be written on a full stop, and we both knew it. Will Nan and Aunt Louise be able to visit me in the hospital? I asked. Well, your Aunt Louise is still in Canada, so she won't, and as for your Nan, I don't know. I don't think so, said Dad. Can you see your Nan letting anyone bundle her into the back of a blacked-out van? I had to laugh. I couldn't see that at all. Dad sighed. I just wish we could have told your Nan the truth. She knows I'm having a heart transplant, doesn't she? I asked. Yes, but that's all she knows. She doesn't know anything else, Dad replied. Your mum and I are going to phone her every day to let her know how you're going. Can I talk to her on the phone as well, after the operation? I don't see why not, said Dad. An uneasy silence descended. So tomorrow's the big day, Dad nodded. No, tomorrow I'm just going to the hospital. The big day isn't until the weekend. Going into hospital makes tomorrow a big day. It's just that Saturday will be even bigger, Dad said quickly. I frowned at him. What was he withering on about? It's not too late, you know. You can still change your mind. I turned away from the faint hope I could see in my dad's eyes. No, I'm not going to change my mind now. Well, just remember you can. You can even change your mind in the hospital if you want to. Just let me know. Did you want me to change my mind? I didn't say that. But it's your decision, not mine. Dad, what would you do if it were me? If you were me? Dad sighed and stood up. I've asked myself that a lot lately, and the truth is I don't know. I don't suppose anyone can really know unless they're in the same boat. Anything worth having is worth fighting for, isn't it? That's what you've always said. Yes, but sometimes maybe the risk is too great, Dad said carefully. And sometimes maybe the risk is worth it, I countered. Dad shrugged. I mentally shook my head. This was such a strange conversation. Why couldn't we both just come out and say what we really thought and felt? Why all this beating around the bush? It was so tiring. Dad and I watched each other. each of us struggling to find something to say. Dad, whatever happens, I'm glad you wrote to Dr. Bryce, I said. Dad nodded. I mean it, I insisted. Thanks. Dad nodded again and looked away from me. I'll go in and finish my packing now, I said sadly. Okay, Dad said. Reluctantly, I turned to go back into the house. Cameron? I spun around immediately. Yeah? Never mind. If you need anything, let me know, said Dad. Okay. And I went back inside. Chapter 11, Life Lessons. Well, here I am again. It's been a few days since I last spoke to you, and a lot has happened since then. I'm going into hospital tomorrow. I'm going to have my operation a few days after that. It's all very hush-hush. Dr. Bryce wouldn't even let Mum and Dad tell Nan what was about to happen. I've already had tests and yet more tests and had more blood taken from my arms than I already knew I had. And there are lots more tests to come, so wish me luck. But that's not all. I finally thought of a name for you. Mum and Dad said I could choose your name, but it was a bit difficult because I didn't know, and still don't know, whether you're going to be a girl or a boy. I don't mind, actually. I guess most boys would like a brother, but I really don't mind. Anyway, the name I've chosen for you is... Are you ready for this? Alex. Alexander if you're a boy, Alexandra if you're a girl. But I can call you Alex. What do you think of that? Do you like the name? I hope so. You're going to be stuck with it for a while. I've passed it by Mum and Dad and they both seem happy with it. Mind you, they're both being so nice to me at the moment. I could have suggested something like Aardvark or Smelly Chops as your name and they probably would have said yes. So Alex, here I am, your brother Cameron. I really do hope and pray that we get a chance to meet and get to know each other. But in the meantime, I'd better get started on what I should call them. Life lessons. Yeah, that's a good phrase, life lessons. Today's life lesson is about parents. I'll be revisiting this topic on a number of occasions, no doubt. That was my newsreader voice. Anyway, back to parents, or to be more specific, our parents. Michael and Catherine Kelsey. What can I say about them? They're not getting on too well at the moment. They're trying for my sake, but it's like they're papering over a wall with bumpy, lumpy bits and lots of holes in it. They keep trying to get me to admire the wallpaper, but I can't when I know what's really behind it. You see, the wall spoils the wallpaper, but they don't understand that. Does that make sense? I'm not getting too flowery, am I? What I'm trying to say is that they're trying to pretend that everything between them is fine, but my eyes work. I can see for myself that they're lying. And I wish they wouldn't. It makes me feel as if I'm responsible in some way because I'm ill. My head tells me that Mum and Dad have a lot of things to sort out for themselves that have nothing to do with me, but the gnawing in the pit of my stomach each time they argue makes me want to run away and hide or curl up in a ball on my bed or do something, anything to get away from them. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I do love Mum and Dad very much. There, I've said it. I love them very much, but they are such hard work. Dad wrote to Dr. Bryce, the man who's going to give me the new heart, and he didn't tell Mum. You can guess how that went down. But then Mum had a bombshell of her own. She was pregnant with you, and Dad and I only found out because Mum didn't want the X-ray machine to damage you. I can still see Dad's face when Mum said that she was pregnant. He looked so hurt, so unhappy. I wish there'd been a fly on the wall in their bedroom later that night. Since then, they've been very polite to each other, but they're not behaving like Mum and Dad anymore. They were very tippy-toe careful around each other. It's almost as if they're working out exactly what they're going to do and say before they stay in the room with each other. That's another reason why I'm desperate for this operation to work. If it doesn't, I'm not sure Mum and Dad will still be together when you're born. I don't want you to blame me for that. God knows I already blame myself enough for the both of us. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about Mum and Dad, and not myself. The thing to remember about Mum and Dad is that they don't know everything. I'm not saying that they think they know everything, that's not the case, but they do think that they have all the answers. But that's not just Mum and Dad, really. That's most, if not all grown-ups. They don't like being told things by anyone under 21, as if they believe that the whole world will think they're stupid if we know something they don't. So watch out for that. It's a real pain. I'm getting a bit tired now. I think I'll sign off. Wish me luck. This is so strange. I keep talking to you as if you're already here. I like talking to you. You're a great listener. In my mind, I guess I think you're already here. I can't wait to meet you. Let's hope I get the chance. Chapter 12, The Clinic. I sat down on the edge of my single bed and looked around my new room. It was more like a hotel room than a hospital room. There was a television in one corner and a fridge in the other. I had my own bathroom and there was even a wardrobe. It was certainly different to all the NHS hospital wards and rooms I stayed in before now. So this was what it was like to go into a private hospital. It must be brilliant to have lots of money. I glanced towards the door of my room, wondering what was going on outside. Dr. Bryce had asked my parents to step outside for a word, and they'd been gone at least 10 minutes. Part of me couldn't help resenting the fact that the doctor was discussing things about me, but not with me. I tilted my head back and closed my eyes. Truth to tell, I didn't want to be alone. Not now. Not with only a few days left before my operation. I didn't like feeling this way. I felt like a baby, but I couldn't help it. This time next week it would all be over, one way or another. Stop it, I told myself fiercely. I had to believe that everything would be fine. I had to have faith. If I didn't believe it, then it wouldn't happen. Just at that moment, the door opened. Mum entered the room, followed by Dr. Bryce, Dr. Elridge and Dad. Mum smiled. Hi dear, are you okay? I nodded eagerly, glad to see them. We were just having a discussion about whether or not you should be allowed to keep your camcorder with you, said Mum. I frowned. Yes, I definitely want it with me. Cameron, that's a little difficult, Dr. Bryce looked concerned. For the first few days after the operation, you won't be in here. You'll be in intensive care. We have to be very careful that you don't pick up any infections. I want my camcorder, I insisted. You'll be too weak to use it. I still want it with me. Maybe one of the nurses could hold it while I talk to Alex. Cameron, I don't want to be difficult. Please, Dr. Bryce, that's one of the things I've been most looking forward to. Telling Alex how I'm feeling and that I'm still standing. Please. Dr. Bryce studied me long and hard. Very well then, I'll see what I can do. I beamed at him. Thanks. I haven't promised anything, he said quickly. I know, I smiled again, knowing I'd won. A trace of a smile flitted across the doctor's face. I'll leave you to settle in. I'll see you in about an hour, Cameron. More tests? More tests, he confirmed. During the last week, I'd had more tests at my local hospital than I could count. Blood tests, urine tests, allergy tests. They even tested my number 2s. I'd been hooked up to some strange-looking machine called an ECG or an electrocardiogram so they could monitor my heart. I'd had dye pumped into me and so many x-rays taken of my chest. I was surprised I didn't glow in the dark. And now I had more tests coming, still. As long as the test meant the operation would work. How soon after the operation do you reckon I can go home? You'll be in intensive care for a while and then we'll keep you in a bit longer than normal to make sure that everything is exactly as it should be. I don't want to state a specific time at this stage. I wouldn't want to give you a timetable and then something happens and we can't keep to it. That would only make you and your parents worry. We'll play it by ear. I think we'll all know when you're well enough to go home. And that was his long-winded way of saying he didn't know. I still had 1,001 questions, but all at once I didn't want to ask any of them. Not one. I'd ask them after my operation, not before. I'd wait until my eyes were open and the operation was behind me, and I had all the time in the world. Hello, Marlon? Cam, what's happening? I came round your house but no one was there, and then I phoned the hospital but you weren't there either. Marlon's tone was close to frantic. I smiled. Marlon, calm down. It's not funny, Marlon snapped at me. He could obviously hear the smile in the tone of my voice. I've been really worried. Sorry, Marlon was really a worrywart. What Nan would call a fuss budget. Where are you? I wasn't sure what to say. I'm in hospital. But they told me you weren't. I thought you... Marlon's voice was all funny and choked. Can I come and see you? Marlon, I'm not in the local hospital. Where are you then? I'm in a private hospital. I lowered my voice, casting my guilty eye towards the door. I'm going to have my heart operation tomorrow. Silence. Hello? I wondered if we'd been cut off. Marlon? You're having the transplant tomorrow? Marlon whispered. Yes,